Well, I'm going live. Don't have any viewers yet, but I'm going to go ahead and start talking because I guess I'm going to record this. So, hello. I'm trying some things out here with Twitch to see what the best ways are to do things. And I've got multiple screens here so I can monitor it and keep track of the chat and Slack and multiple things all at once. But yeah, just kind of getting started. This is meant to be pretty informal, so, or at least I mean it, I hope it to be pretty informal, so I'm just going to kind of hang out and work on some stuff, and then if people show up and want to chat, that'd be great. The chat room in Slack is fine as a place to talk, or the chat on Twitch is good too. I've got both of those open. Now, if no one uses this, if no one ends up tuning in at all, like, we may just sort of change, I may just not do this anymore, but let's try it for today. We'll see how it goes. I'll probably go stream for 30 minutes or so at least and kind of see what's up with that. So one thing I have noticed, by the way, is that there's about a 5-second lag between what I say and then when it shows up on the stream, which is fine. It just may make me a little slow in responding to chats if you chat things. Like, it'll take us basically 10 seconds to get that back and forth if you need to. Yeah, okay. So, oh great, I have 2 viewers, nice. Hello and welcome, whoever you are. So you've got a couple questions there that I posted in Slack just a little while ago about, and up in the top right of the broadcast to, things that I'm curious about that if you feel like sharing, that would be great, in the chat room in Slack or in the chat room on Twitch. That'd be fine. I'm really just going to keep working on a few things and kind of talk through it as I do, just to kind of have some content here. So I'm putting out an announcement right now, and it's talking through some of the logistics of this week, and this will be kind of our trial run of this. But basically, we're going to be proceeding as normal. I mean, not as normal, but with a lot of the same content. With a slight difference here. Oh. Oh, great, up to 8 viewers now. Excellent. So, hello. I think you can see in the top right, I'm playing with some things in Twitch, but I got a few questions that I am eager to hear your answers to, and maybe some more, just to kind of see what's going on. Basically, first of all, how are you doing? Where are you if you're not here? I can say it's gotten a lot quieter on campus. Like, I was here a couple times over the weekend, and there were still some people around, but like this morning, I've not seen anyone. It's kind of creepy, actually, but nice and quiet, I guess. So I'm in the HCC. I'm in our normal classroom, as you can probably tell. Let's see. So we've got, looks like Tess doing fine. Yeah. And Tess says, it sounds like you're using Microsoft Teams. That's interesting. Let's see, does that show up? Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that this would show up in the preview thing. Yeah, I saw Teams, and I thought about using it just because it's there in our environment, but and Microsoft really wants Teams to be the Slack replacement. But I felt like I didn't want to give you all a new platform to learn because we're already doing so much with so many different platforms. It seemed kind of weird. I guess I should ask, if you can hear me okay. I tested earlier and it seemed all right, and my audio levels seem about like they were before, maybe a little higher. So if you can't hear me, then let me know in the chat or something, or DM me in Slack, I guess. Oh, and there's Matt. Great. So yeah, yeah. So as Matt points out, that there are going to be lots of different platforms, and part of me is excited about that because I always love trying out and learning new platforms like Twitch, like I'm doing right now. But obviously that's also a lot to ask you all to do, and so I'm sure you're really struggling, or you may be struggling with some of that. I know I would be. I mean, it's just a lot to deal with at this point, but hopefully these things are good. Okay, thanks, Matt. I mean, basically I'm planning to stream for about 20, 30 minutes, not for a full hour, just to make it accessible and easy to look at later. And so I guess I wanted to go ahead and explain a few things. Hey, let's see. Just curious, yeah. Oh, I bet art class will be different, and painting will be a very different kind of thing if you don't have access to the same resources and tools. Okay, so let me talk through what I have planned. I mean, for the archaeology project first, and then I have a slightly different idea for kind of discussion stuff going forward. So this was relatively easy in the sense that I already do an online version of this assignment, and so this is it. It's digital archaeology plan B, as you can see here. And over the summer, I call it an object lesson because it's a slightly different approach, but it still should work. You know, the assignment description is here, but take a look at it. It's no longer a group project. That's the big thing. There's no way to coordinate a group. If you feel like it, and if you happen to be able to, then I'm sure that's fine. But there's just no way for me to count on that being possible for most of you. So it is an individual project and kind of a longer explanation of it. You know, if you think of the online class, I don't have that opportunity in class to explain things. So I put a lot more into the actual text descriptions of it. Hey, 11 viewers. All right, looking good. Take a look. You still have the same procedure where you need to choose a device. You may not end up taking it apart though. This is something that you should decide if it's worth doing or not. But you still want to focus on a single device, and as I say here, the emphasis is not on the Game Boy, but this Game Boy, like not a general idea of an object or a category, but like this exact one. And you can see how that plays out in the different stories you're going to tell about it. So deconstruction is optional. So you're going to be choosing one of 3 different stories to tell about this object, and if you're going to be telling the prehistory story, then you probably will need to take it apart to look at it. But whether or not you can do that may depend on your access to certain tools. So that's something that you should evaluate on your own, and also like how badly you want to do this. Some people may have been hesitant to do it. I think any of the smartphones are going to be tricky unless you have those specific little tools there, but some other things you might just need a Phillips head screwdriver, and that would be fine. So if you happen to have one of those, then by all means continue. I guess if you are on campus and you plan to be here for the duration, I mean I don't mind loaning out tools. I'm not sure the best way to get those to you, but we could let me know if that's what you want to do, and we can follow up and figure that out. So yeah, it's just deconstructing the device if you want to, but then figuring out a story to tell about it. So when we talked about the 4 stages in the life cycle of an electronic object, we looked at like the minerals extraction stage, and then the assembly stage, and then the retail stage, and then the afterlife or the recycling stage. So this is simplified from that a little bit, mainly just because in terms of the prehistory, if you're trying to tell a story, you're really going to have a hard time going into the super the super early stuff like mineral extraction. You're gonna have a hard time actually finding anything out about that. So I really think of the prehistory as the fabrication and assembly. Oh yeah, the gym is closed. That's right. That is a good question. Tess just asked about the Think Lab, if that's still open. I can check. Let me see. I can ask in this another Slack here real quick, but my guess is it is not. Let me just ask the person who runs that. So I just asked, I'll let you know what I find out from Shannon. If it is open, that would of course be a good place to take things apart if, again, you have them and you're on campus. Okay, so the prehistory is really, we're thinking more about the assembly stage, and so that's where taking apart, looking at serial numbers and production codes and things is where you're gonna have some fun figuring that out. As far as like finding 10 to 12 components and learning about each of those individually, that's maybe quite a lot. Wait a minute. Sorry, my message to Shannon didn't go through. Let me try again. I will try a different channel because she's got multiple accounts. So yeah, okay, we'll see. Yeah, I'll let you know when I find out. Anyway, so the same procedure, I mean, the thing that I explained the other day with the, what was it, the N64, like that's still, viable even without a lot of special tools. So getting into that should be fine. But then as an individual, finding out each of those components, like 10 to 12, that's gonna be really hard. And when we think about, in the initial version of this assignment, which I didn't even get to the point of explaining yet, but the whole neat line thing, that part I didn't, I don't think it's really worth the effort of creating a neat line site if you're only going to be able to find out information about 2 or 3 items, which is, that's plenty for a single person to do. So I've decided that's one of the big shifts here that's going to be happening. I'll explain down here in a bit. But anyway, so thinking about these devices, you've got 3 stories you can tell about it. There's the prehistory, there's the lived histories, which is what I call, the actual life of this thing as a thing. And then the afterlife, which is going to be basically a bit of science fiction writing on your part to try to predict the future for this. So, check it out. There's a lot in here, but basically, you're ultimately going to be creating this, and I'm recommending Timeline.js. If you would like to use something else, that's okay. You might want to look at StoryMap.js, which is a decent thing too. That's if you have a lot of spatial information you want to get across. There's also something called TimeMapper.js, I think that still exists. I think Timeline, though, is the easiest of those to work with and gives you enough information, enough ways to work with it that you should be able to get this across just fine. Maybe you've worked with Timeline.js before. It's pretty popular, and I can just show you very quickly how it works and make a demo. So it's all Google Spreadsheet powered. So you go to here you get the copy of their template, and then you start working with it. Takes a second to create it. And so all your data, this is the back end of the timeline that you're going to be creating. Excuse me. And I have lots of these. So yeah, and it looks kind of odd at first, but each row is an event, and you have to have some information about each of those events. So we're talking about time references here. Oh, I'm up to 14 viewers. Hello. Great. So then these, you do have to have at least a year on these. If you're guessing, it's okay to be vague about that in your description of it, but for the spreadsheet to actually work, you have to give it a number. Also, one thing I found out with this tool is if you skip a line, if you leave a blank row, it'll break. So try not to do that. Anyway, there's various other things you'll figure out through trial and error with this. But you've got a lot of options for what kinds of content you can put in here. And this demo gives you a good demo of that. Let's see. So you do it from here, timeline.nightlab.com. For those of you, if you're just joining, I'm demoing Timeline.js. I will do more instruction on Timeline.js in the future. I just wanted to give you a quick demo. Okay, so publish to web. Right, okay, file. Publish to the web. There we go. Whole thing. Yes. And copy this URL and then come back here, paste it here, and this is, oh, here it is. I guess this is it. Is this it? No. Should be previewing here, but it seems not to be. Huh. Like this is just their demo thing, not mine that I just created. I don't know. Maybe I should look at this for a minute. I want to make sure this actually works before I tell you all to use it. So let me see if there's something I'm doing wrong or if there's something up with it. So let's just try getting the document ID and seeing if that works a little better. I think I know what to do. Let's just try this in its own URL, its own window. Yeah, okay. Well, here it is. This is the data that I have here. Like, nope, not there. Here, and I can show you what this means. See how that looks. So then let's refresh that. Make sure that this is the same one that I'm editing. It's just kind of slow, I think. Well, let's see if there's anything. There it goes. Okay, it's just really slow. Their server's just taking a while. Okay, that's fine. So this is like what I just created there. And if you're telling a story of a device, you'll be talking about different events that you know about. So if you're telling the prehistory, that would be different times that a component was created. If you're working in working on the lived history, then there will be events that you know. If this is one of your objects, you'll know when you got it, when you stopped using it, significant things that happened to it. That's something that you would have as events here. Or if it's the future, you'll be speculating about possible events, things that may happen to it. All right, there's Emma. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, the recording studio. That's an important facility that you will have a hard time replicating on your own, probably. I'm curious how that's going to go. I'm also curious about critiques, as Curry's asking Amber. I don't know. I mean, that seems like, depending on your medium, you might still be able to do that. It just seems to be, it'll just be a lot more like logistically confusing to figure out who's going to review what and then give them those things and then give each other a chance to respond and so on. Let's see. Oh, there's also some questions from Emily. So. Yep, looks like Emily's at home. Okay, good. Yeah, glad things are. It sounds like everybody so far is having a pretty smooth experience with things. Let me see. So that's good. So if you're just joining me, what I'm doing is I'm showing you Timeline.js, which is the tool that you can use for the digital archaeology project instead of Omeka, and it's something that is a bit easier to use than Omeka, and also easier for like a single person to use. In terms of the kind of research that you would do for this. So let me go back to the archaeology assignment. And by the way, feel free, I've posted those questions just as a way to start a conversation in the chat, but if you have questions in general about the class, feel free to throw them into the chat, and I will try to answer them here if I can. That might be more efficient. Okay, so then, yeah, basically that's it. The due date is still the same, not June 1st. The due date is still going to be the same as the original due date. Which I think is still possible because this version of the assignment is scaled down a bit in terms of the amount of work you need to do individually. So I think that's still a reasonable time frame. If that turns out not to be the case, what was it, March? If it turns out not to be the case, we can, of course, adapt as needed. Is it March 27th? Yeah. And we'll just say midnight instead of 10 a.m. Time is a little bit less meaningful now as far as during the day. Okay, so I'm updating that. Now, as far as what you create for this, there is the timeline, like I said, and like I've been showing you, but you should also write a bit about it. And then what you're going to be submitting is the URL to the blog post where you write about this. So in your blog post, link to the timeline. You notice it's a really long, wonky looking URL. So link to that from your blog post, and in that post, kind of write about your process and how you approached it. Okay, great. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm curious. So Crystal just posted that one of her classes is not hasn't been reconstructed yet because it's so hard to switch to online. That is probably going to be the case, and I imagine many many of your professors are kind of freaking out. They may be freaking out. Some of them are freaking out. I talked to some of them last week, but most of us are doing okay. We're just kind of rolling with it. But yeah, it's just the nature of some topics are going to be very difficult to switch. So I don't envy a lot of those people trying to figure it out as they go. Hey, 16 viewers, great, looking good. So thanks for joining me if you're on here. This is good. This is fun. I'm having fun. I hope you're okay, I guess. I was trying to figure out how to stream actual games, and I don't have a lot of games. I'm just using the PC and the classroom. I need to figure out how to install games on here so I can actually stream some games or something, because that seems to be what people actually use Twitch for. Okay, so let's see. I wrote an announcement recently. Did I post it? Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of notes about this week, and I will continue to send announcements throughout the week, I'm sure. But this is just my sense of how this week is going to go at this point, and maybe it'll change a bit. But this is fine, I guess, for now. You notice I still have reference to dates. I am going to try to live stream, again on Wednesday and Friday. But you don't have to. If you can't attend these, that's fine. If you need to look at them later, that's fine. Or if you can't access them at all, then the same information is going to be in the announcements, hopefully. So that'll be. I will do my best to get it in there. But let me talk a little bit about this. So in terms of content, in terms of what I want you all to look at and learn from this week, you've got your individual work to do for your project, obviously. But as far as a thing for us all to talk about, remember we looked at a video game that showed us how the four different stages of an object's life, how they played out. And when we played that game, we talked about how game rhetoric, how the fact that it's a video game changes how it gets its ideas across. What else did we do? Oh yeah, then we read an essay. We talked about how the narrative style of that essay helps get its ideas across. So we're going to look again at another type of media type, and try to learn from it, but also think about how it uses its medium to get its ideas across. And it's two things, and first is Mr. Daisy and the Apple Factory. This is a podcast, and you can only read the transcript of this one, but please read it. Let's see, how do we do that? Yeah, so you have to actually click on these. I think this is how their website's kind of off a bit. Let me see. Let me make sure I can see which actual link. There it is, transcript. You have to click on transcript. I'll make sure to clarify that in the announcement. So this is the actual text of what you would have heard if you listened to this episode. And I say if because you can no longer listen to this episode. They've retracted it, and they've got an episode that you can listen to about why they retracted that earlier episode. So you have to read this version. This one. That's your only option. This one I would like for you to listen to. There is a transcript for it as well, but if at all possible, listen to this episode, because what we're interested in is how they've used editing in the audio here to get their ideas across. This is where we're thinking about different modalities and different media. This is a new medium that we haven't thought about or listened to yet. So I want you to pay attention to how the audio tells this story. Okay, so Maddie has a question. She says she can't see it, so let me see. Let me just get back to her. Oh, looks like Rachel is helping, maybe. And Crystal. Okay, yeah, I'm starting. Let's see. Oh, but I want to make sure I can get Maddie in here if possible. Let me just try this. I don't know if there's I haven't used this thing at all. But okay, Ashley also is having an issue getting the live stream to play, so let me see if I can assist here. Too many Ashleys. 17 viewers. Hello. This is my first time using Twitch, by the way. You can probably tell. I used it earlier to test it, but this is the first thing I've really done with it. Let's see. Share. mean, it's the share link is literally just the same one. It's HTTPS, you know. um, Maybe that's a difference if I typed it differently. Sometimes your browser will not follow through the link from HTTP to HTTPS. So yeah, so Maddie and Ashley, if you're seeing, I mean, I guess you can't see this, but I mean, I'll be archiving this later on YouTube so you can see it. Oh, so Maddie can see it now. She says, okay. Hi, Maddie. Welcome. This is great. Hopefully we can get Ashley in there too and anyone else. And if we can, let's figure out maybe what happened with Maddie's. So, like Maddie, if you noticed what you did differently to get it to work, that would be great in case someone else has the same problem. Oh, and Maggie too. Great. Okay, so if you're just joining me, maybe you are. I've got, let's see, how many viewers are we up to? One thing I've not really gotten used to is how the different windows work. Okay, so there's Marcus, looks like. Marcus is at home, and oh, you're going to take apart a PS3. Okay, I remember somebody said PlayStation, but I was kind of assuming that was like an original PlayStation. Those are actually a bit more, those are fairly collectible at this point, and also kind of fragile. They don't hold up very well like the N64 does. But yeah, if you can get a so I have a PS4 that doesn't work well, and I'm really frustrated about it actually, and I could rant about it for a while, but I might take it apart to try to make it work better too if I can. It's very locked down, but the problem is it overheats, I think. It doesn't tell me what it's doing. I'll be playing and then it'll just shut off, and like not even like with no warning, it just is like off, and it beeps really loudly. It's very annoying. So PS4, not super happy with it, but you know I could probably figure out. I bet I could set up streaming from that if it worked. Anyway, so if you're just joining me, I was talking about up to 20 viewers. Wow, amazing. I was just talking a bit about the week ahead, and I've already talked through a bit about the changes to the assignment. So I'll go over that again, and then I'll try to wrap up in about 5 or 10 minutes here. So this again is the week ahead, and there's two things: read this transcript and listen to this episode, and really listen to it, because that's the audio is a big part of how we're going to try to respond to that. Okay, so then Friday, you know, the idea of things needing to happen on a specific day is a bit loose and flexible at this point, obviously. But I think just kind of having a progression through things makes a lot of sense. Everybody's talking about they were looking forward to taking apart the thing. So it is a highlight of the semester for me, honestly, too. So I'm really disappointed. But anyway, so as far as working through things, there are some things we can still do to have conversations and kind of work through our ideas in the original sequence of those ideas. So here's what I'm suggesting. On or before Friday, I would like for you to find your digital culture group, and you've got a couple, like two primary ways you can connect with them. You've got a homepage actually in Canvas that you can use. So there's a discussion there you can use if you want to. There's also, thought someone was coming in. There's also Slack, right? I mean, you may have already set up a Slack channel to work on things together, and that would be great. Discussion boards in Canvas have a different kind of structure to them, and so I can show you what that looks like, I think, if you're interested in using them. Just kind of think about what is easiest for all of you. So let's go to one of these, and I'll just pick this one. So if you notice, I'm in this group homepage. This is group 1.1. I don't remember who's actually in this group. Oh yeah, Tess. Yeah, many of you are online. That's great. So if you are in this group and you want to use this, you've got a discussion section here, and it works like a lot of other forums. You can just post a discussion there. And what you might want to do, and maybe I'll even do this, is just kind of post a top thread, like post a new discussion with, well, I've lost my tabs. With these questions on it, and then reply to that individually as you kind of get to it and work through it. This is asynchronous conversation. If you do happen to be online at the same time, say during that class meeting session time on Friday, then you could certainly use that. Use Slack that way. You also do have. I mean, I don't know if this. Actually, no, you don't have a chat option in here. There is a chat built into Canvas, but I found it's not very good. I've disabled it for our class, but it does exist. Yeah, I even took it out of the menu. But it's there. It does exist in Canvas. It's just not very good. Let's see. Okay, so there's Rachel. Great. Mhm. Yeah, the GameCube. Well, you can still take away the GameCube. That's going to be interesting. I mean, those are I think relatively disassemblable. So I don't know. Do your best, I guess. But if you can't, of course, there's other things you can do. Oh wow, 23 viewers, great. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. So that's it for the week, except for one new thing, and this is a new kind of assignment. But I hope you don't worry about it too much. This is not an extra bit of work, but it kind of replaces some of the in-class discussion kind of things. It's really more to help you organize your work, and I need to write a description for this. But what I'm thinking is, this is a summary and reflection of what you did this week. So this will be something that you work on week 10, 11, 12, 13, and however long we stay out. My hunch, by the way, is that we will not come back in person for the rest of the semester, but we'll see. That would be, I hope we do, but I think we won't. Anyway, so at the end of each week, then I would just like for you to write a summary about how things went, what you did and how things went. And you can post that directly in Canvas, but I would recommend posting it on your blog. You can also just record video, like you could actually, Canvas has a thing where you can just record a video directly in Canvas, or you could record it separately and upload it. Just somehow share your thoughts about what you learned that week, what you worked on, and it's a way to kind of keep track of all that. I need to write that text here, but I will do that in a minute instead of asking you all to watch me type. So, yeah. All right, great. So everybody seems to be all right. That's everybody that's chimed in, of course. Other people may not be in, and I will make sure to try to connect with as many people as possible. I'm also going to create like a survey to send out, like a Google survey form, just to kind of get a sense of where everyone is and make sure that you're either able to access these sessions or that you at least know to check Canvas and that you're getting the things you need. And so that I know what to prepare for you all going forward. So, okay, Ashley's in now too. Great, welcome. Hi. Okay, so let me just kind of go through briefly what I've already talked about one more time, and then I'll wrap it up. So, one change is digital archaeology. That project has now become Plan B, and it's something called an object lesson. You still need to focus on a single object and tell the stories that, focus on a single object and think about the stories that it can tell. And you may or may not be able to take it apart. You don't have to take it apart if you don't want to, but it is something that, or if you can't, I guess. But it is something that's an option. And you're going to be telling a story about this object. There are 3 stories that I'm interested in hearing you tell. I guess you could combine these two if you want to. But the prehistory is anything that happened before you owned this object or before it came into your life. The lived history is everything that it went through while it was your thing. And then the afterlife is kind of the future that you imagine for it. We haven't really got to this point yet in talking about it. We will be learning about e-waste, recycling, and so on. But thinking about like the long term of the landfill and other places, like if you're thinking about your object, like what is it made out of? What are those materials? What are those materials going to be? How are they going to biodegrade, if ever? How long will they be around? And kind of think about what their life is going, for thousands of years in the future potentially. So that tends to be a bit more speculative, a bit more like a creative writing assignment essentially. So that can be fun if you want to try to get into that. And I got some more detail about each of those options down in here. The due date is still March 27th because this is a there's a little bit less work on this assignment. It's scaled back a bit. It is an individual assignment, but if you want to, you can. You are welcome to coordinate if you feel like if you have the ability to. Okay, so then the other thing, like I just said in the announcements, this week we're going to be learning about the production phase of these things a bit more. So read this transcript, Mr. Dazniak, and read a transcript of the This American Life podcast, and then listen to this one. In fact, I'm going to just update this link to be exactly to the transcript so you don't have to hunt for it like I did earlier. Okay, so I am going to wrap it up in a few minutes here. So if you have any questions or things that I haven't covered yet, or if you'd like me to clarify, please ask now so that I can get this into the stream. Otherwise, of course, feel free to send me things in other ways. And that's interesting. So whoever, I don't know who that is, but someone's saying that the um, the grading scales have changed a bit. I think that's very reasonable. Obviously, this class was already pretty different in terms of grading scale, but so there's not really, I can't really, there's not much more room to flex that at this point as far as making that flexible for everybody, but um, that's understandable that a lot of people might consider that. Um, hmm. Oh, and Maggie's saying, yeah, the online labs are not as much fun. Yeah, I bet. The butcher's table under OTB. I don't know what that means. Is that a place? A table? Okay. I don't know what that means, but is that a restaurant? Maybe it's a restaurant. I don't know. Anyway, that's where Maggie is. Okay, great. So yes, so KTIF, I assume that's Caitlin. The it is an individual project, and you are not necessarily, you don't have to check with me necessarily if you want to, that's fine. The only thing I would have any feedback on at this point is really safety, and I already did cover a lot of that. And Maddie, yes, I will send the link in Slack. It should have been the same. I don't know, but yeah, I will make sure to do whatever I did. That just now worked. I'll try to do that again. Okay, so yeah, so Caitlin, if you want to contact me, you can, but only if you're concerned. I'm not worried about you finding anything. If you're not taking it apart, then safety isn't really an issue. And so just kind of think about something that you kind of have a story to tell about it. So especially if you're doing the lived history of it, you choose an object that actually has some meaning to you that you can think of a meaning for. That would be my only, I guess, guidance on that one. So, okay, one other just kind of quick thing. If you do have questions and anything, I shared this in the YouTube video I already made, but if you go to zachwhalen.net/contact, I've got a lot of different ways you can contact me now. So check this out. I've got a phone you can call and a text message if you want to send that, and YouTube channel, Twitch links there. And then I've got this thing called Appointlet set up, so you can actually reserve some time. And these are not in-person conferences at this point because they're advising us not to do that. But text-based conversation might happen in Slack or somewhere else. But having that real-time chat kind of conversation is pretty useful, even though Slack is, a lot of us have been using it more for asynchronous communication. But we can use it synchronously. And I just got word back from Shannon. Somebody asked earlier if the Think Lab was open. She says it is not. So the Think Lab is not open this week. But let's see, what else did she say? Let's see. Okay, well, she's saying I can get in if I need something, but I was asking for, I don't actually need anything from the Think Lab right now. But the Think Lab is closed, and the Digital Knowledge Center, they're also doing virtual tutorials only at this point. Anyway, just showing you can reserve time if you want to, and if you want to do a video conference, this tool that I found, service that I found seems pretty useful and very easy. It's just whereby.com/ZachWhalen, and it's like a video chat room I've set up. So if you go here, you can say hello, and then I'm not going to do it right now, but that lets you just kind of have a quick, easy drop-in kind of video chat. So, okay, so I think I'm going to go and wrap it up. I've been going for a bit longer than I meant to. That's usually what happens. I end up rambling for a bit. So you've got some homework, so take a look at those two things from This American Life and have a conversation about them with your group. And then be looking for some instructions about the end of the week reflection and summary thing, and some other things like that. Okay. Oh, so there's so this is, I think this is Marcus. You're saying, I do agree with watching Bob Ross is a good use of Twitch. And yeah, your ukulele class, I can imagine, would have really no way of going online. That's really frustrating. Okay, well, I'm going to shut the stream off for a minute. I will be back on at 11 in case you joined late and you want to watch the beginning of the next one. It's really just going to be the same material, so I might have the actual survey written at that point, or like the tech survey thing written out at that point, but otherwise I'll just be covering the same things. So, okay, great. Well, thanks for watching. If you did, I'll archive this on YouTube later, and I'll shut this down, and I'll be online in lots of other ways. So, see you around. Hope you're doing okay. And I'm going to stop.